This man controls the entire world. Many people know about the Pope, but what if he's not the only Pope? Rumor has it that there are 3 popes in existence. The White Pope, which everyone knows, the Black Pope, and the Gray Pope, each trumping each other in terms of power. The White Pope is the leader of the Vatican Church, and the Black Pope is the leader of the Society of Jesuits. However, when it comes to the Gray Pope, it is a whole different story. Well, you'll see. The Gray Pope, or more commonly known as Pepe Orsini, is the latest heir from a long bloodline of black nobility that are the movers and shakers behind world control, with their dynasty going way back to even Babylonian times. Today, they are the world's most powerful family, heading the Illuminati, with even the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers reporting to them, but not many people know controls the entire world.
In the heart of medieval Rome, where shadows whisper secrets of the past, the Orsini family emerged as one of the most powerful and enigmatic dynasties. Their castle, a fortress of mysteries and dark legends, stood as a testament to their influence and might. Within these walls, the Orsini harbored secrets as old as Rome itself. Whispers of forbidden rituals and political intrigues were as common as the portraits that eyed visitors with silent judgment. The Orsini were known for their extravagant masquerades, where beneath the guise of celebration, alliances were forged and betrayals were plotted. Beneath the opulence, hidden passageways revealed a world of clandestine meetings and dark dealings, shaping the fate of empires and whispers. But among the power and intrigue, a tale of a cursed Orsini, doomed to wander the castle grounds under the pale moonlight, captures the imagination. As night falls over Rome, the legacy of the Orsini family continues to echo through the ages. But what secrets did they truly hide? The shadows of history keep their tales, waiting for the next curious soul to uncover them.
Hey guys, so the head of the snake is Pepe Orsini, also known as Prince Domenico Napoleone Orsini, the 22nd Duke of Gravina, who is the Gray Pope that instructs the Black and White Popes to control the world through duality. He is the head of all 26 families and of the Vatican, and chief of the complete black nobility. He is the owner of the Israeli mafia of the Ursino Ndrangheta mafia clan. The Ndrangheta is a prominent Italian mafia-type organized crime syndicate based in the peninsular region of Calabria, dating back to the 18th century. It is considered the most powerful organized crime group in the world. Domenico also owns the Cleveland crime family, or Cleveland Mafia, which is a collective name given to a succession of Italian-American organized crime gangs based in Cleveland, Ohio. He is the top overseer of the Rosicrucian Order. The Orsinis have a rose on their coat of arms, and they are top architects of alchemy, which is chemical witchcraft. The Orsinis are a major bloodline of the black nobility, or descendants of Rome, and produced 5 popes under their rule, dozens of cardinals and bishops, and are the major landowners with dozens of titles of lords, barons, and princes. The name Domenico Napoleone Orsini traces back hundreds of years, which some assume he survived death supernaturally, while others say the name just stays in the family. The Orsini family calls themselves the Sons of the Bear, are one of the oldest, most illustrious, and for centuries most powerful of the Roman princely families. The Orsini are descended from the Julio-Claudian family of ancient Rome. Their origins can be traced back to Ursus de Paro, the founder of the family, recorded in Rome in 998, but reportedly founded in the year 600. They are the oldest family in Italy. They first became important in the late 12th century with the election of Giacinto Orsini as Pope Celestine III, whose generosity to his nephews founded the territorial fortunes of the family. During the next 100 years, allegiance to the papacy developed into a firm, if profitable, tradition in the House of Orsini. They assumed leadership of pro-papal wealth interests against the pro-imperial Ghibelline Colonna family, and for centuries afterwards the savage rivalry of these two magnate families dominated the politics of Rome and its territory. In 1241, as senator of Rome, Matteo Orsini saved the city from capture by the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II and the Colonna. As the 13th century advanced, the Orsini acquired increasing influence in church policy and administration. 4 of the family were chosen cardinals, and one of them, Giovanni, also became pope as Nicholas III in 1277. Their wealth in allegiance also brought them land and lordships in the Angevine kingdom of Naples, where several long-lived lines of the family took root among the nobility. At the end of the 13th century, the Orsini were among the principal supporters of Pope Boniface VIII in his attacks on the Colonna family, and were rewarded for their services with the grant of nepi in fee. Not all of them, however, were partisans of Boniface. Napoleon Cardinal Orsini, partly for family reasons, sided with the Colonna and the French, and it was he who promoted in 1305 the election of a French Pope, Clement V, the first of the popes of Avignon. From this time on, apart from the brief interval of Borgia rule, late 15th and early 16th centuries, when the Orsini were dispossessed of their castles and 3 of them were put to death. The Orsini retained their dominant place among the Roman aristocracy, providing soldiers, statesmen, and prelates to the church. In 1629, they were created princes of the Holy Roman Empire, and in 1718, they were raised to the princely dignity at Rome. In 1724, Pietro Francesco Orsini was elected pope as Benedict VIII. The family survived in the Orsini Dukes of Gravina, descended from Napoleon Orsini, son of the 13th century Senator Matteo. Their principal fiefs were Bracciano, near Rome, acquired in the 14th century, and Gravina, near Bari, B-A-R-I, acquired in the 15th century. They received the ducal title from Pius IV in 1560 and held Bracciano into the 17th century and Gravina to 1807. From the 16th century, it became regular for an Orsini to hold the office of Prince Assistant to the pontifical throne. All of this complete control of the Vatican came from the investiture controversy, where the ruling families took away the rights of the Pope to choose his successor and his entourage. This gave the Orsinis complete control over the Church, bypassing the traditional and rightful ways of succession. It is assumed the Orsinis have had complete control over the Vatican ever since. I think this is where the old dynasty of the Hohenstaufen was taken over by the Orsinis. The Orsini's crest shows a double-headed phoenix rising from the ashes, which is a symbol from the Greek mythology of immortality, rebirth, and renewal. Legend states that at the end of its long life and two bears, which was thought to possess diplomacy equal to its great strength. Basically, the two bears equal to great strength, and it is the emblem of the ferocity in the protection of the kindred. There's also an eel on their crest. The eel is displayed as conjuring and canting purposes of the serpent. I believe the Orsinis have the direct connection to the devil, which backs up my claims about the Great Pope and him getting orders from Satan and handing them down to the good and bad popes, or the good and evil popes. Domenico Napoleon Orsini is married to Maritine Bernheim, who is the daughter of banker Antoine Bernheim and previously widow of Francois Abraham Michael Meyer, or Michel Meyer. Mitchell Meyer. I said Michael Meyer. They are parents of two daughters, Donna Leotonia and Leontia, and Donna Cajetana. This means Domenico has no male heirs to pass the name on. Could it be because they are the last family before the tribulation? I don't know. No need to carry on as their 500-year reign of the Vatican finally just paid off? I don't know. It's all conjecture and all speculation. I first heard about the Orsinis just a few months ago, so how would I know? How did they manage to stay quiet this long in the public eye? Maybe, and I believe, the time has come in the eyes of the Orsinis and their religion that their faces and actions no longer needed hiding. Maybe to set the stage for the Antichrist or their Antichrist. But the problem they have is the Nephilim, or Nephilim. The giants make a comeback in the end of days, and there are none to see at this moment. However, they know this, and they could be hiding them from plain sight until the coming deception, the UFO deception. I have seen multiple reports of giants being fought by our military, which could be another deception to make us think we are living in the end of days. Also, the real Jews are not the real Jews of Israel. They are all scattered, and I believe they will return as the 144,000 mentioned in Revelation. How did the Orsinis play into this? I have no idea. It's all conjecture. Hope that helps.
In my book, there's a lot of genealogical research, going back, Dick's family, my family, these heroic and amazing tales of people who went west. But one of the things I discovered is that Dick and Barack Obama are 8th cousins. What? Is that an amazing thing? Yes, if you go back 8 generations, really? They have a common ancestor.
These spiritual beings have been ruling this planet through very specific bloodlines, who long ago swore allegiance to these beings in exchange for wealth and power over the human race. In preparing the whole world for the ultimate spiritual deception, these evil entities have planned. These bloodlines are literally able to be traced by genealogists all the way back to ancient Sumer and Babylonia, and these human familiars or pets of the demonic angels have worshipped Satan and his minions under many forms from the time of Sumer right up to our present day.
So there were new beings planted in the garden. Primarily, they had been created to function as sources of food for the collection of gods that had been possessed by evil. Secondarily, they were to be used as physical vessels to be possessed by the gods. Once possessed, they would be used to carry out evil's plan to spread death and destruction on earth.
Incest was practiced by ancient Egyptian royalty. Mothers married sons and brothers married sisters to keep the power and the money all in the family. Like their pharaonic ancestors, the British monarchy have a long history of incestuous inbreeding.
Is of an interbreeding between a non-human race, force, whatever, and humans, creating a hybrid bloodline, a fusion of the two DNAs. Even in Genesis, we have one version of this, but you find this all over the world, in every culture. As the Bible says in Genesis, there were giants on the earth in those days, or in the earth, as it puts it, and also after that, where the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. These hybrid bloodlines, this interbreeding, produced the kings and queens and the elite royal families of the ancient world, where they claim their right, their genetic right to be the king or the queen or the leader because of their connection to the gods. And all over the world you find this. And what do we have today? We have the queen as head of state of this country purely because of her DNA. In Sumer you find the same. Sumer, which became Babylon, which became Iraq, has ancient texts and tablets which describe the same recurring global story of this interbreeding to create this hybrid race. The hybrid race became known as the demigods, part human, part God, because of this interbreeding connection. This hybrid bloodline went off across the world, up into Northern Europe. It became the power behind the Roman Empire and the creation of the Roman Church, which became, of course, global Christianity. Much more about that as we go along. And everywhere it went, it became the royal bloodline, the elite bloodline, the one that became the leaders and the kings and the queens, and also the people in charge behind the scenes. And it interbred with other such bloodlines in Northern Europe to become the royal families and aristocratic families of Europe. And so today, these hybrid bloodlines are known as the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, and they're the ones that control the transnational corporations, governments, the banking system, the whole shebang that dictates and controls the direction of society.
Many of the United States presidents have blood relations with each other. The Bush lineage has blood ties to a great number of former presidents. George Washington, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, Rutherford Hayes, James Garfield, Grover Cleveland, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford. Michael Tessarion points out in his work that Bush is closely related to every European monarch on and off the throne, and has kinship with every member of Britain's royal family. Bush's family tree can be documented as far back as the early 15th century. He has a direct descent from Henry III and from Henry VIII's sister Mary Tudor. He is also descended from Charles II of England. And we also find that George W. Bush is a direct descendant of Godfrey the Bullion. Godfrey was the first king of Jerusalem after he recaptured it from the Saracens, which was the name for the Islamic faith during the Middle Ages. It is interesting to note that the current occupation of the United States in the Middle East was re-established by the same family, George Bush Sr. in 1991, and again by George Bush Jr. in 2003. George Bush Jr. is then found to be a cousin to both opposing candidates of his 2 terms in office, Al Gore and John Kerry. Democratic President Barack Obama also has blood ties with George W. Bush, as well as Gerald Ford, Lyndon Johnson, Harry Truman, James Madison, and the British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. On the opposing side of the 2008 presidential ballot, John McCain is descended from Robert the Bruce, King William I of Scotland, and also Godfrey the Bullion.
Let me take you through this, branch by branch.
The 101st Airborne Division, air assault.
Vice President Dick Cheney, the man who's only a heartbeat away from the presidency, is actually a blood relation. He's President Bush's 9th cousin once removed. Cheney's cousin Barack Obama is also Bush's 11th cousin, and the 9th cousin of Brad Pitt. But we're only just getting started. President Lincoln was President Bush's 7th cousin 5 times removed, and Bush shared more than just a ballot with John Kerry. That's right, they're 9th cousins twice removed. There's also royalty in the Bush bloodline. Princess Diana was Bush's 11th cousin twice removed. And then there's this bombshell.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Sure, she may have been singing to JFK, but what about GWB? He is, after all, her 9th cousin 3 times removed. He's also related to Playboy founder Hugh Hefner, even Pocahontas, and Vlad the Impaler. Trace the family tree far enough, and you get Madonna, Celine Dion, and Tom Hanks.
Rothschilds come from the Orsini family. Roth means red in German, and the Orsini means red bear, little red bears. That's what Orsini means. The Grey Pope is Pepe Orsini. He trumps the black, he trumps the white Pope.
The Grey Pope is even higher than the black and the white Pope.
The Orsini is the Maxima family. They are the maximum family. They are on top. And somehow they've trumped the Colonna and the Farnese, which I know, without any doubt, through all my studies, that they are the 3 most powerful Illuminati.
what about Rothschild and Rockefeller?
Well, they are Orsini. They just changed their name. Rockefeller were Rothschilds. Rothschilds were Orsini. Orsini were a family which have their lines in Babylon and Egypt. They tell you that. You read their biographies, they'll tell you that. We go back to Nimrod. They tell you that. The Rothschilds say that. We go back to Nimrod. How? Through the Orsini. So Rockefeller, Rothschild, Orsini, and then you go back to the Persian and Egyptian dynasties.
I always get the question, who are they? This is they. This is who is controlling this matrix. This is the current power structure. All right, so we start at the top. We got a non-physical entity. Think of like a fourth dimensional vampiric energy that is communicating with the black nobility. These are the 10 families of the black nobility that are on the Jesuit Council. The Orsinis, the Borgia, the Colonna. Now the Jesuits have the white pope, which we all know of. They have the gray pope, Pepe Orsini, and the black pope, Arturo Sosa. Now they control the three-city state. The city of London controls us financially. Vatican City controls us religiously, and Washington, D.C. controls us militarily. Then we have the 13 front families. The 13 front families are front families for the black nobility. These are the ones we've heard of that control the world. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Merovingians, the DuPonts, the Kennedys. Next, we have their corporations that consolidate their financial assets, which is BlackRock, Vanguard, and the China Construction Bank. We then have secret societies. Any secret societies you've heard of. The Freemasons, Vril Society, Skull and Bones, the Bilderberger groups, all of them. After that come the head of the states. Then we get the Trumps, the Putins, the Z's. Then we go to the programmers of this reality. We have the mainstream news, Hollywood, and the music industry. Next we have the distractions, Major League Sports, gambling, drugs and alcohol, and porn. This is the current power structure of this reality. Now I don't tell you that so that you are fearful of it. I tell you that for you to understand it. For they're communicating with some fourth dimensional vampiric energy. We are communicating with the source of all creation. So they might have the better team on paper. They might have all of the foreseeable advantages in this reality, but we have the only advantage that matters, and that is why they can't stop us. I love you all. Stay blessed.
Clan of Rome is the man who runs the world. Meet Pepe Orsini, the Grey Pope. Orsini is a part of the most ancient Maximus clan of Rome, and he remains behind the scenes, pulling every single string of literally every secret society and every human slave on this earth. As most of you know, there is the popular Pope Francis, which is supposedly the head of the Catholic Church and ruler of Vatican City. But most of you don't know there is actually 3 popes that have authority over the Vatican, including the White Pope, which is Pope Francis, the Black Pope, which is the Superior General of the Jesuit Order in the Vatican. Then comes the man with supreme authority over both Black Pope and White Pope, which is the Grey Pope, named Pepe Orsini. Pepe is a part of the most ancient and most powerful bloodlines in history, which is Orsini, also known as Orso. Now, you know,
This is the House of Orsini, a very important yet slightly obscure house that was very, like I say, important for Italian history. And amongst their ranks we have 5 popes, so Pope Stephen II, Paul I, Celestine III, Nicholas III, and Benedict XIII, all the way into the 18th century. Now, I believe this is one of the oldest, still continuing noble houses to this day, and I don't think they can trace their lineage back to Charlemagne. I reckon there's probably a few marriages in there that would help them trace their lineage. But they really go back to this guy here, Gaius, or Caio, Orso. Now, he was a patrician in Rome around the time of Justinian. So this was after Western Rome had fallen, but Justinian had basically reconquered Italy and portions of the Western Roman Empire. Now, Gaius actually claimed descent from the Julio-Claudian dynasty, from a cousin of Julius Caesar, although that's probably a bit made up, you know, for legitimacy's sake. Now, here's the first sort of ancestor from the 550s, so he's really going way back. Now, he had several sons, and if you go 6 generations down, you get to 3 brothers. So the first was Stephen II, who was the first of many Orso Bourbonne popes. Now, I say Orso, that's how they were known back then. The House of Orso is basically the father house to the House of Orsini, but they were known as Bourbonne Orso because one of their members was called Bourbonne. Anyway, the first was Stephen, who appealed to the new king of the Franks, Pepe the Short, for aid in Italy against the Lombards. Not only did Pepe deliver on this, but he also set up the Papal States, basically, as a vast territory in central Italy, stretching from Rome to Ravenna. So he called this the Papal States. Now, that's obviously a very important thing, and Stephen is basically responsible for the greatest legacy of the papacy in the medieval period. Now, his brother Paul I succeeded him, so it was quite a hereditary position, and of course he glutted on bribery. Now, Paul I had a tumultuous reign, in constant conflict with King Desiderius of the Lombards. For centuries after the Papal Brothers, the family were known as the Bourbonne Orso, or now the Bourbonne Orsini, and that's from his brother Constantio Orsini. Now, you go down 7 generations, like I say, you get to Bourbonne Orsini. And he was the father of Peter, who was the father of Giancanto and Giacinto Orsini. And he was actually made Celestine III. Of course, by this time, the family was very wealthy, so they could secure papal elections. And this family, as far as I am aware, has the most cardinals of any family ever. So there are several cardinals on each generation. I've just not been able to cover all of them. Now, it's worth noting also that the Orsini family had a long-standing rivalry with the rival house of Colonna. Now, I'm going to make a video on them very soon as well, and they kind of run simultaneously to the Orsini, and a lot of their story is relevant for the Orsini. So just bear in mind that, you know, these two families would each other's necks. Now, Celestine III also had a very tumultuous reign. There was a dispute between King Henry VI of the Holy Roman Empire. Henry found himself excommunicated multiple times, while Celestine also excommunicated King Alfonso IX of Leon. He died soon after confirming the Teutonic Knights as an order in Northern Europe. And after him, he was succeeded by Innocent III, who was a Conti and cousin of the Colonners. And like I say, I will cover this family because they have loads of popes actually. Matt Baker did a really good video on them, but yeah, I also plan on covering it soon. Now, Celestine's great-grand-nephew was called Matteo Rosso, and he was a very important patrician. He avidly campaigned against Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II, who was also king of Naples in Italy, and defeated him in the 1243 Battle of Viterbo. He was also a very good friend of St. Francis of Assisi and funded a lot of his missions. He ensured that his son, his son Giovanni was made Pope Nicholas shortly after his death. And I'm now going to talk a bit about Nicholas's pontificate, which was quite short, but there were several important events. He greatly strengthened the papacy in Italy. In 1273, the Habsburg ruler Rudolf, the godson of Frederick II, had been elected as King of Germany and King of the Romans, which was more or less the Holy Roman Emperor. Pope Gregory X had recognised him as king after some hard negotiations, but the imperial title and coronation were withheld. Nicholas was willing to negotiate, but he refused to crown Rudolf as emperor until Rudolf had acknowledged all the claims of the church to secular lands in Italy. Now, in the city of Bologna, the Exarchate of Ravenna had guaranteed that their lands would be given to the papacy as well. So basically, Nicholas's reign saw great expansion for his realm, and at this point I would like to point out that two of his nephews, Matteo and particularly Latino, were very important Dominican cardinals, who were important in the conclave, which is the election of the Pope. And obviously they could basically bribe the Pope into making various members of their family into cardinals. Nicholas's cousin was also the forefather of some of the Orsini despots of Epirus. Now, I made a video on them. It's one of my more popular videos, so I recommend you watch that if you want to see that connection. I think there are about 3 or 4 Orsini despots of Epirus, so yeah, very interesting link there, and that was sort of a Byzantine successor state. However, the Orsini line continued through this line here to the county of Tagliacozzo. Okay, now, let's see here. This is when we get to basically the Renaissance, and the Renaissance in Italy was really its heyday. So all of a sudden the family explodes into all of these various branches, so I'm going to try and cover some of them. The first guy is Giovanni Antonio. Now his father, Raimondo, was Prince of Taranto. Now when his father died, he was only 1 year old, and he married his mother married King Ladislaus of Naples, so he obviously was favoured a lot. Now, he himself married Pope Martin V's niece, Anna Colonna, okay, and Martin V is shown here. So there's a link to the Colonna family, although they were often rivals. Now, after James II of Scotland had a conflict with the Pope, he received the Principality of Taranto, that was, of course, his father's, as well as, and by the way, sorry, just to make this clear, he wasn't the son of Gentile. That should have some generations. For some reason, I've not put that on. So anyway, he was made the most powerful baron in the Kingdom of Naples, including 7 archbishoprics, 30 bishoprics, 300 castles extending from Salerno to Taranto, and he was also given the title of Duke of Bari, or Bari. Now, when Alfonso became king, He was also made, Alfonso V of Aragon, was made King of Naples. He was made Grand Constable of Naples. So he was a very important mercenary and nobleman within Naples. Now his distant cousins continued to be the counts and countesses of Tagliacozzo until we get to Clarice. Now Clarice is probably the most famous of the Orsini. I believe she is on the thumbnail. And she married the most important bloke in Italy at the time, Lorenzo the Magnificent. Again, I've got a video on him and his family. But if anyone was to claim their descent from Lorenzo, they would also have to claim that Clarice was their ancestor. Now, she herself was a very clever and shrewd businesswoman. She often managed the famous Medici Bank while her husband was away negotiating and doing politics. Now, Clarice actually died before Lorenzo, which broke his heart. But she had a great legacy, and she's also one of the main characters in Netflix's Medici, which I might have mentioned in my video on the Medici, but that's a very good series. So if you've got Netflix, I highly recommend that you watch that. Her brother Rinaldo was also made Archbishop of Florence, sort of in the dowry of Clarice. So if you were to say that Lorenzo was the king of Florence, Clarice was very much his queen. Okay, now, who else is there? Giambattista. Now he was a distant relative, as you can see. You have to go from Clarice through her mother, then to her father Carlo, then to his brother Lorenzo, then Lorenzo's son was Giambattista. Now he was made a cardinal deacon by Pope Sixtus IV, and he was made papal legate to the March of Ancona by Innocent VIII, this chap here. Now he was basically a very important cardinal until he plotted against Cesare Borgia, and he found himself in a lot of trouble and was secretly murdered in the Castel Angelo, which is that sort of big circular castle in the heart of Rome that you can often see from St. Peter's Basilica. Okay, now another important member was Paolo. Now he was the brother of Lorenzo as well, and he fathered a famous mercenary who I haven't been able to show on the chart called Fabio Orsini as well. Now he worked as a condottiero, which basically just means mercenary, in the Papal States, and with his nephew Giambattista plotted against Cesare and was executed for treachery. So yeah, lots of plots against Cesare Borgia. Now it's worth pointing out that Italy at the time was very divided into many different principalities and states. So armies often didn't come directly from the states because they couldn't levy that many men because there were so many states and they were so small. So states had to rely on mercenary armies to fight battles for them. And the Orsini and Colonna families both had very big mercenary armies, which made them extremely rich and influential on the peninsula. So that's why it was seen as such a big piece of treason that Paolo Orsini was plotting against Cesare. Okay, Latino Orsini, he was the uncle of Clarice. He's also in the Medici TV show, and all I've got to say on him was that he was very rich, extremely wealthy actually, bought many palaces in Rome, and was sort of a protector of a few of his nephews, one of whom became the Pope. I say great nephews, really. Now, then we've got some more connections. So Francesco, he was made Duke of Gravina after his father, who was Count of Cario, died. Now, at first he owned lands in sort of a bit north of Italy, but was created Count of Gravina, in 1418. basically because he won a battle against the Angevin troops led by Charles of Naples. He obtained the dukedom, or the duchy of Gravina, by King Alfonso, and that title passed to his son, and Francesco was also killed with his brother Paolo and Giambattista in that plot against Cesare Borgia. I forgot to mention that earlier. We'll get back to his line in a minute. I would also just like to point out this guy here, Paolo Giordano Bracciano. So he was basically, again, a very important mercenary, and he was also a close friend and confidant to the first Medici Grand Dukes of Tuscany, who was their brother-in-law. So he was a very important noble and was made Duke of Bracciano for that. Again, many castles, etc. And his descendants continued that duchy. And I believe the Duchy of Bracciano still exists, but isn't in the Orsini family. I think it's the Tortonia family that owns it currently. And the final person who's not on the Gravina line is Pier Francesco, Duke of Bomazzo. He also, like most Orsini, was a mercenary, but after losing a friend in a very deadly battle, decided that he would live in exile in his home city of Bomazzo. And he became Duke of Bomazzo and converted to Epicureanism, which of course is a Greek philosophy. So it's quite interesting that an Italian noble in the heart of Italy in the sort of Elizabethan period would, stop being a Catholic, but he didn't really get punished for it, and also constructed the monsters of Bomazzo. Just do a quick Google search and you'll see what I mean. They are quite interesting, but they were sort of supposed to convey loads of emotion, and again that link to his philosophy. I believe Salvador Dali actually based one of his paintings off of those gardens, so that's an interesting link. Anyway, the Gravina line went all the way down to Michael the First, Duke of Gravina. However, he died without any heirs, so it went to his sister, and she was actually ousted, and it went to her cousin Pietro. Now, Pietro acquired this duchy, he paid for it, and then it went through his son to his grandson. Now, he actually decided that he didn't want to be the Duke anymore, so he more or less resigned. He gave it to his brother Domenico, and he decided to become the Pope. So, yeah, that's what he did, and he became Benedict the 13th. So he is one of the last popes who is from one of these important nepotistic families. And you can see he also relates to his direct predecessor, Innocent the 13th, because his nephew married one of his nieces. Anyway, he also made one of his nephews a cardinal, and then that cardinal actually decided to become the Duke after all, so he was both a cardinal and a Duke. Okay, so the family goes on a bit until we get to Duke Domenico, this chap here, who died in 1874. And he was the Minister of War and General Lieutenant for the Papal armies. He was also made a Senator of Rome. So that's an interesting link. He was one of the last really important politicians in the Orsini family. By this point, obviously, all of their lands had been taken, and really they were only dukes in name, although the family is still very wealthy. And the current duke is this chap here, Domenico V. He's been Duke of Gravina since 1984. Now, he doesn't have any male heirs. He does have, I believe, a couple of daughters. So when he dies, the dukedom, or the duchy, should pass to his brother Benedetto, who is also unmarried. So after Benedetto dies, it will go to his cousin, Prince Lelio, who has actually married into the former Georgian nobility, which is interesting. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this interesting look at the Orsini family. It's a bit here and there, I gather, but it's one of the oldest and I believe most important families in Italy, stretching back all the way to the 550s until today, and it looks like the family will continue to survive for several more generations at least.
Brother, who has been regularly initiated and entered apprentice mason, passing the degree of fellow craft, now seek for the light in masonry by being raised to the sublime degree as the mason.
Is this of your own free will and accord?
Yes.
You will say I, pronounce your name in full, and in an audible tone of voice, repeat after me. I, of my own free will and accord, in addition to my former obligations, that I will always hail, forever conceal, and never reveal, any of the secret arts, parts, or points, of the hidden mysteries of Freemasonry, appertaining to the degree, of Master Mason, to any person, under the canopy of heaven, except it be, to a true and lawful brother of this degree, or within the body, of a just, and legally constituted lodge, of Master Masons, and neither unto him nor them, till after strict trial, to examination, or lawful information, furthermore, that I will aid and assist, all distressed, worthy brother Master Masons, their widows and orphans, whosoever dispersed around the globe, that I will keep the secrets, of a brother Master Mason, as my own, when given to me, in charge as such, murder and treason accepted, furthermore, that I will not violate the chastity, of a brother Master Mason's wife, daughter, sister, mother or widow, or suffer the same, to be done by another, Furthermore, that I will not give, the grand hailing sign, of this degree, unless I am in real distress, or for instruction, finding myself under no less a penalty, than that of having, my body severed in twain, My vow was taken thence, and burned to ashes, and the ashes cast, to the four winds of heaven, that no more remembrance, may be had of me, among men and masons forever.
So help me God,
and keep me steadfast, in the due observance of this, my solemn obligation, as a Master Mason. Now, at your hand, on your head, in token of your sincerity, kiss the Holy Bible in which you found the fear. Senior Warden, release the candidate from the faith, though it being 3 times around his naked body is to signify that he is now bound to fraternity by a threefold tie. division of darkness. Senior warden assists me in bringing the candidate from darkness to see the light by which Master Masons work. The first objects presented to you are being brought from darkness are the three reflects of Freemasonry, as before, with the circles. You now observe both points of the compasses, elevated above the square, which is to teach you that you are now about to receive all the light which can be conferred upon you in the lodge of Master Masons. And that you are not to lose sight of this valuable instrument, by which we are taught to circumscribe our desires, keep our passions within due bounds,